Before this video begins, I just want to mention that some of the information conveyed might be a bit inaccurate or not so true as this video, gets older and older. So just make sure to take everything I say in this video with a grain of salt. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get straight into it. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Pandaren Quadruple Classic. In this episode, we'll be going back in time to Space Engine, and also Universe Sandbox to some degree, to remaster a classic of space discussion videos, and quite literally enough, one of my personal favorites out of my entire space discussion series. So, without further ado, let's get right into it and remaster this ancient classic. Whenever somebody walks up to you and asks anything about related to, life, maybe not on Earth, but maybe anywhere, there's always one answer that always comes up. Well, we haven't really found any life. There's nothing outside of Earth, there's nothing like on the Moon, or Mars, or Venus, maybe. So one of the biggest questions that get tossed up around, not just by scientists and astronomers all across the globe, but just pretty much every human that you possibly would meet, and that question is, are we alone in the universe? And trust me, it's a great question to ask, so don't feel like you're being a complete idiot by asking it. It's definitely a very tough debate, as no one really knows if there's life outside of Earth, or, somewhere like in the next star system over, or a different galaxy, or on the complete opposite end of the universe for all we know. It's completely unknown if there's life beyond Earth, and it's a very good question to ask if we are alone. But Earth simply cannot be the only place to actually harbor life. Because if you think about it, and if you think about all the other stuff that scientists and astronomers all across the globe have come up with, it really starts to make you wonder, is Earth the only life-bearing planet in all of existence? And today, I want to talk about that, if Earth is or isn't, the only life-bearing planet in the universe, because, it's highly debatable. So with that, let's just discuss, are we alone in the universe? The biggest idea that I want to bring up is basically the concept of, is life, there has to be life in the universe, essentially. And for that, I want to bring up the Fermi paradox. Now, I'm not going to quote specific things from Wikipedia here because I might get sued or something ridiculous from that, but I'm basically just going to give a sum up of what the idea of it is. Composed by Enrico Fermi, a long time ago, I can't remember the exact year, but the point is, originally composed by Enrico Fermi, the Fermi paradox basically states that with billions of galaxies in the observable universe, each with billions of stars, and a lot of them housing their own solar systems, maybe even comprising of one planet to even like 12, for example. When you factor all of that in, when there's hundreds of billions of galaxies just in the observable universe, it's really hard to believe that Earth would be the only life-bearing planet there is. When you consider how big the universe actually is, clocking at somewhere between 93 quintillion light years, I think, or trillion, it's somewhere around that margin. But when you consider just how big the universe is, and when you take into account all the stars and planets that can physically exist, it really starts to make you wonder, can Earth really be the only planet to have proper civilizations? Personally, I just don't think it's possible. Take, for instance, the Milky Way, our own galaxy. The Milky Way has roughly or anywhere between 100 to 400 billion stars, each with their own unique planets, but not all of them have planets. But let's just assume that that's quintillions, maybe even sextillions of planets. When you factor in all of that, do you really think that Earth would be the only planet in our galaxy to harbor any kind of civilization? There's the difference of yes and no. Yes, Earth is very well possible to be the only planet to have proper civilizations in our galaxy, but that doesn't limit the fact that other galaxies might have their own life-bearing planets. And that makes me move into my next point, but even then, the Fermi paradox just isn't enough to convince people, because there's so many other possibilities outside of the Fermi paradox that can give insight as to what Earth could have been, and what the universe probably is in right now. What are the flaws to the Fermi paradox? What I mean by that more is, what do people think when they don't know what the Fermi paradox is, or if they don't believe in the Fermi paradox? What do people naturally assume if you were to ask them, is there life in the universe? To put it bluntly, it's very well possible that Earth could just be the only life-bearing planet in the universe. But that's highly unlikely. As mentioned in the Fermi paradox, there is over 100 billion galaxies in the observable universe, each with hundreds of billions of stars and probably more than sextillions of planets in each of those galaxies. To say that Earth is the only life-bearing planet with civilizations and hundreds upon hundreds of different life forms, it's really hard to believe that Earth could be the only one. It's also possible that Earth might not necessarily be the only life-bearing planet in the universe, but people also believe that maybe Earth is just the only one in the Milky Way. So people might assume that Earth might just be the only logical planet that has life just in our own galaxy, which would throw out the window that, yes, say for example the Andromeda Galaxy, that being the closest galaxy to our own, it could be very well possible that there could be a life-bearing planet and civilizations in that galaxy somewhere, but we just don't know it. And that probably leads to my next big point, and that is just technology. Humanity has come a long way when it comes to technology, but even if you look at it now, our technology is still kind of lacking to some degree. Sure, we can see star systems a few thousand light years away. We can see stars from that far, we can see planets from that far too, but it's not the same as going from Earth and looking at the opposite side of the galaxy. Humans' technology is just not capable of that yet. We can't officially identify stars in a galaxy that's 2.5 million light years away, because Earth's technology is just not capable of it, at least in the current moment. So therefore, I personally feel that if we're going to find life, we're going to have to up our technology a lot. And that's going to take years, decades, maybe in a century or two, just to get enough technology and tech we need to actually start expanding out of our galaxy in terms of our search range. There's also the possibility that maybe there was life in the universe, maybe before Earth and all of that. Because remember, the universe is only around 14 billion years old, which is a big number, but Earth is only around 4.6 billion years old. So therefore, you still had around 10 billion years without an Earth. Anywhere between that 10 billion years, there could have been life, maybe somewhere in our galaxy, or in another one. But no king rules forever, is an old good saying, and just like that, civilizations don't stay around forever. Even we as a humanity, someday, it might take thousands of centuries, but eventually humanity will go extinct at some point. Because no civilization lives forever. Unless if you're like literal gods, but you probably aren't. It's very well possible that life could have been in the universe before life on Earth came to Earth. But maybe they just weren't around to see Earth. Maybe they weren't around to come visit Earth in its early heydays. So maybe there was life, but it's just not here anymore. Either because it went extinct, or because it's so far away from Earth that nothing can reach it. Or it could just be the fact that aliens and extraterrestrial civilizations just don't want to visit Earth. That could be for a number of reasons. It could be because of, say, the radio signals that we pump out into space. Maybe they might be receiving them, and they might think, oh, this planet doesn't look, it's not our cup of tea, so let's just go somewhere else. Or maybe just extraterrestrial civilizations might just not know of Earth's location. If you had to look at a map, Earth is very much situated in a very odd part of our galaxy, kind of the outer ring. It's protected, covered, hidden to some degree, so it's hard for those extraterrestrial civilizations and life forms to find Earth. But there's a lot of reasons why life either hasn't come here or we haven't found it. From things like our own technology, because that's a very limiting factor that's going to impact us for many, many years. It could be that they just don't want to visit us. It could also be that there was life in the universe, but it's no longer with us. Or it could just be that they're so far away that maybe they did send messages, and they just haven't quite got to us yet. So, to conclude on a good note, are we alone in the universe? Truthfully, I would say no. I know that most people would think that, yes, we are alone because there's nothing out there. But when you really have to take a step back and you look at all of the things that actually make up the universe, and you look at just how expansive and massive the universe actually is, and how much the universe contains, it starts to make you wonder, surely Earth can't be the only one. As the Fermi paradox says, which I'll go ahead and quote it one more time, with over 100 billion galaxies in the observable universe, each with hundreds, if not maybe a few trillions of stars, each, well maybe not all of them, but most of them, each having their own solar systems, comprising of maybe one planet, upwards to maybe even 20. It's bound to really hard to believe that with all of that matter, with all of those planets, and stars, and galaxies, can you really say that Earth could possibly be the only one? Most likely Earth isn't the only planet. Life is out there somewhere, whether it's in our own galaxy, on maybe the opposite side, on another planet, if it's in another galaxy, like Andromeda, just waiting to be discovered, or if it's many, many millions of light years away, in a far-off galaxy that we will maybe never be able to contact, see, or explore. Regardless of if we never find life, Earth will never be alone in the search for it. So just be wary that even maybe tomorrow, 2 months from now, 2 years from now, 2 centuries or decades from now, there will come a day when the news breaks that we have found life, and when that happens, as Neil Armstrong would say, it's definitely going to be one giant leap for mankind. And with that, that concludes this episode of the Pandaren Quadruple Classic. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time on what we like to call a little bit of destruction. Take it easy, everyone. Later.